everyone. It's Michaela.
It's Charisma,
And it's Cameron.
and welcome to Bruin Table Talk.
Today's topic will be about Chinese culture.
With our special guest,
Natalie Chou!
Hi, Nat. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Of course.
Okay, Nat, so I'm going to start off with the first question. So, what is your experience being Chinese American basketball player in the United States, considering that there aren't many people that play at the collegiate and professional level?
Yeah. So growing up, I was first introduced to basketball by my mom. She played professionally in China, and I grew up in Plano, Texas, similar to Cam, around that area. And in our community, there's actually a lot of Asian people, and so growing up, I played in a lot of rec leagues. PSA, Cam probably has played there as well, and there were a lot of Asian girls playing with me. But it wasn't until I got to like AAU, higher AAU, and also like USA basketball, where I realized that um, I was kind of like the only one at that level. And growing up, I never really had like a role model in the WNBA or NBA that I looked up to who looked like me. It wasn't until Jeremy in like high school where I saw someone who looked like me at that level. So it was kind of hard, like not knowing if there was even a path for me and people who look like me. But yeah, I've just been really grateful, and I was really lucky that my mom played and she taught me everything growing up. So yeah.
Cool. I have the next question. So, how has being Chinese influenced you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like everything really. It's influenced everything. Just like the way act, the way I carry myself. My mom and dad are both from Beijing, and I grew up in like a really Chinese cultured household, and like a lot of traditional um, cultures that my mom like instilled in my sister and I, like respect elders, respect your elders. And like I kind of like, I mean, Mulan just kind of came out, and I'm really glad like y'all, a lot of other more people could see like the Chinese culture. But I sometimes feel like I am Mulan, just like our traditions and our culture saying like women need to be like kind of soft, like kind of like the softer one, like speak when you're spoken to, and like don't try to stand out. And sometimes I do fall into that. I've realized like I feel like y'all kind of can tell sometimes like on the basketball court, or I just fall back. But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it's really amazing how like you're able to grow up with Chinese culture even though you're from America, and it's cool to how like your parents have taught you all of this,
Mhm.
even though you've been living in the U.S.
Yeah, definitely. I've been exposed to a lot of different things, and it's definitely molded me into the person I am. So really grateful for my Chinese culture.
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate, obviously, coming from
Mhm.
parents who are immigrants as well. So I can kind of relate into some kind of aspects of just having immigrant parents for sure. Moving
Mhm.
forward, obviously with the coronavirus, there was a lot of like, racial tension that went on, especially against Chinese American people. Can you just talk about like just the challenges of that, how you handled that, and like how that whole period was for you, even now going through a pandemic?
Yeah. So I would say I'm very well. This was like my first time actually personally having to deal with racism and that kind of stuff. And honestly, I'm lucky because y'all have to go through that every single since y'all were little, right? Yeah. Every single day, like I've had to watch y'all battle through that. So I would say like this was like my first time actually having to encounter this kind of racism. So yeah, when we all got back home, when our season got canceled, COVID started, and there was some rhetoric that the president used. He called it like the Chinese virus. And so yeah, a lot of other people started using that, and I went back home to Texas, and some of my acquaintances were calling it that, like the Kung flu, like the Chinese flu, whatever. And that it really hurt because I mean, I am fully aware of where COVID originated from, but just using like that rhetoric is actually really harmful for my community and people who look like me. So when that happened, I didn't really say anything because I just had to like process what happened. But then when I got home, I talked to my sister, I talked to my mom, like, should I say something? Should I? And then um, I guess going back to like my culture, like my community, we're not really the ones in the spotlight all the time. Like we don't usually speak up on this kind of stuff. So I felt like with my position as a student athlete at UCLA and having the background that I do, that it's my job and duty to speak up and stand up for my family, for myself, and also my community. And so yeah, I decided to tweet something about it, and then I wrote a couple papers and had a couple of interviews about it, just trying to spread awareness of what was going on. I just want people to understand and empathize what other communities are going through. So yeah.
And I just want to say it was just so cool watching you like navigate that whole process. All I watched all the interviews, read all the papers, saw all the tweets, and you just did like a great job of like voicing your opinion, standing up for your heritage, your culture, your people. And I totally feel like I feel what you were saying about how like women in the Chinese culture are kind of like more silent, not necessarily silent on issues, but don't speak up as often because people aren't necessarily gonna like hear them. And I kind of feel like that's kind of how in the Black community, no matter how much Black women speak up on like injustices they face, or Black women or Black people face in total, that they're constantly silenced. But I do want to say
Mm,
still so amazed of like what you did during that time because you were like just great.
thank you. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, like, sorry, like I wouldn't have had the confidence or like the strength to speak up if it weren't for you, Cam, if it weren't for you, Mick, or Riss, and everyone else. Because like last year I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I saw y'all's courage literally every day, like not being afraid, even though like Cam, you had said y'all always get turned down, shut down, ignored all the time. Y'all still fought for yourselves and like had that courage. And I don't think if I had y'all's example that I would have said anything myself. So honestly, so grateful for y'all.
That is so sweet. But I just want to second what Cam said. I was like, yes, now. I was over there quoting, period. You guys heard what she said because at the end of the day, like it does come down to just blatant racism. And so for you to speak up and use your platform, that's just super cool. And I know that's obviously different than kind of your personality. So to see that, I was super proud of you. So good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was super cool, Nat, honestly, to see that coming from you because your voice is very powerful. So next question is, what is your favorite Chinese dish or your favorite tradition?
Yes. So when I was younger, before like basketball was really serious for me, I would go back home to Beijing every single year, like over the summer for like 3 months. And I was just the culture and like the food. Y'all know how I feel about food. Like it's so good. Even though I can't eat spicy stuff, which is really crazy. And people always knock me for that. I just enjoyed the food so much. So I love my mom's dumplings. She makes dumplings on special occasions. Hot pot is a huge thing for me. I go all the time in Westwood. There's a restaurant, and there's like malatong, which is like Chinese street food, and like tudo sir and yang char, and it's just like amazing food that I just love and eat. Traditions. I don't know if we have. Oh, Chinese New Year. It's coming up. I think February, and it's the year of the ox, and I'm an ox. So supposedly it's supposed to be a good year or a bad year. So I'm hopefully it's gonna go towards the good year. So yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely cool. I'm gonna have to try some of those foods that you said. I don't know what you said, but I'm gonna try some of that for sure.
Yes, I'll
So
take y'all.
Yes, please.
you kind of touched on this already, but can you just talk about why it's so important for you to use your platform and voice, especially for little girls to look up to you and you to be a role model to those girls? Can you just talk about why that's just so important to you?
Yeah. I would say like that's my calling for my season of life right now. Just being able to use the platform I have as a student athlete in college to inspire younger girls and boys who look like me. I think right now more than ever, representation is so important. Whether in all walks of life and all of like minority, like it's just so important. Seeing yourself on screen, seeing yourself in office or like on the court or on the field, it's just so important. It gives people a lot of hope, and it gives people just like a light and knowing that they can do what they dream. So yeah, my thing is like I want people to see, and it doesn't even have to be like basketball or sports. I just want people who look like me to really push to defy those stereotypes that do label us in this nation, and just fight for their dreams, even though they might not see themselves like might not see representation in that occupation or career.
Yes, what Nat said, because representation is just so important for little girls and boys to look up to people who look like them. Like you said, see themselves on screen, in movies, in shows. It's just super, super important. Well, thank you, Nat, for being a part of our Bruin Table Talk this week. We super, super appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Nat, for joining us. We love you and we appreciate you.
Yes, just echoing them. Thank you so much, Nat. You're a great teammate. It was super, super fun to have you. And like always, go Bruins!